Hello guys, welcome back to part 13 of dermatology. We're just one video away to complete our subject. Okay, so guys, earlier we spoke about the course of Hansen disease where we spoke about the different subtypes of it. Okay, now guys, we're going to talk about intermediate Hansen disease. Okay, in intermediate Hansen disease, guys, what you need to know is that the cell-mediated immunity over here, it is not determined. Okay, the main thing that you guys need to know is this history. This is going to be your hint in the question. They will tell you that there's a child, okay, from an endemic area of leprosy. And what are the different endemic areas of leprosy, guys? It is going to be Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Tamil Nadu. Okay, so you will see that there's a little boy who's come with a hypopigmented patch on the face, okay, who's come with a hypopigmented macule on the face, okay, and this child is from Bihar or UP or whatever they'll give you in the question. Okay, so this is our hint. Okay, so this is what we need to know. Okay, so what is going to be the clinical feature, guys? We're going to relate with the image over here. Okay, it is going to be an ill-defined, I hope you can see this, ill-defined hyperpigmented. That means it is going to be a lighter shade than that of your normal skin, macule present. And what is the site, guys? The site is going to be the face. What is the site? The site is going to be the face. Okay, so there'll be a child who's from Bihar, UP or Tamil Nadu, okay, who will come with an ill-defined hyperpigmented macule on the face. Okay, and very important, guys, is this association. The child is not going to complain of any itching or scaling. There is no scaling and no itching present over here. Okay, and what is the investigation of choice, guys, over here? Very good. The investigation of choice is going to be skin biopsy. In the skin biopsy, guys, we're going to look for lymphocytosis. What are we going to look for? Lymphocytosis, which is going to be perineural or periappendigeal in origin. Okay. Next, guys, this is important classification that you need to know. That is going to be your Ridley-Joplin classification. Guys, this classification is going to help us differentiate the various courses of your TB. Okay, now we are going to look from the spectrum of your tuberculoid type till your lepromatous leprosy. Okay, we're going to go from TT till your lepromatous leprosy. On the way, we're going to differentiate between your BT, BB and BLT. Okay, first, guys, we're going to talk on the basis of your acid-fast bacilli. Okay, now see, your lepromatous leprosy, your tuberculoid type, as we mentioned earlier, it is a good type. It has a good course, right? So that is why the acid-fast bacilli over here is going to be few. But since, look, see, tuberculoid type is a good type, okay, whereas your lepromatous leprosy, it will have a poor course. Okay, that is why we're going to go from one good spectrum to the bad spectrum. Okay, so we're going to go that way. So obviously common sense is telling me that there's going to be few acid fast bacilli over here. In lepromatous leprosy is going to be multiple, right? Whereas your borderline tuberculoid, borderline lepromatous, this will be determined on the basis of your microbiology. Okay, next is your cell mediated immunity. So we already spoke earlier that the course of your tuberculoid type is good. So obviously the cell mediated immunity over here is going to be good, but in lepromatous leprosy, the course is poor, the immunity also is going to be poor. Okay, next is your Leperman test. Your cell mediated immunity is directly proportional to your Leperman test. Okay, so your Leperman test in patients with tubercular type, guys, is going to be positive, whereas in that of lepromatous leprosy, it is going to be negative. Okay, number of skin lesions, since we know there's a good prognosis here in tubercular type, it is only going to give us 1 to 3 skin lesions, whereas in lepromatous leprosy, guys, is going to be multiple. Since it's a poor, you already know, right? Meaning this is just basically you need to know that tuberculoid type is a good type, whereas lepromatous leprosy is a bad type. So everything bad is going to happen in your lepromatous leprosy. Okay, next, your margins of skin lesion, guys. Your margins of skin lesions in tuberculoid type, guys, is going to be well defined, whereas in lepromatous leprosy, it is going to be ill defined. Okay, next, your nerves, number of nerves which are involved over here. Only one nerve might be involved in tubercular type, whereas, guys, there will be multiple nerves which are going to be involved in your lepromatous leprosy type. Okay, next, your skin and nerves, are they going to be symmetrical or asymmetrical in tubercular type? It is going to be asymmetrical, whereas in lepromatous leprosy, since we know it is having a poor course, cell mediated immunity is poor, right? There are more number of bacteria that is present over here, more nerves are involved. That is why there is going to be a symmetrical nerve and skin involvement. Okay, in histopath, guys, in tubercular type, what am I going to see? We're going to see tuberculoid granuloma, whereas in lepromatous leprosy, what am I going to see? I will see foamy macrophages with acid fast bacilli present over there. Okay, Now guys, there is this zone that is called as a Grenz zone. Okay, what you need to know about Grenz zone, guys, that it is the thickest in lepromatous leprosy. Now let us look at this Grenz zone. So now if this is my epidermis, okay, this is my epidermis and this is my dermis. Okay, epidermis and dermis ke beech mein, in the middle of that you have this Grenz zone. This is my Grenz zone. Okay, this Grenz zone, guys, over here will have no cellular infiltrates. And what you need to know about Grenz zone, guys, that this is going to be thick in which type, guys? It is going to be thick in LL, in lepromatous leprosy. Okay, and what are these macrophages, these cells present over here, guys? These are your foamy macrophages. Okay, and they'll be present with acid fast bacteria as well. Okay, okay, I hope you guys have understood this. Now guys, let us look at the late features. What am I going to see if this disease progresses? In the late features, guys, I'm going to see diffuse infiltration, okay, of the skin of the forehead. What do I mean by diffuse infiltration, guys? It means thickening. There will be thickening on my forehead, on my nose, on my ears. And what will I call this, guys? I will call this Leone faces. Means that the face will look like a lion's face. Okay, let us look at this image. Okay, I can see diffuse infiltration, diffuse thickening all over my face, on my forehead, on my nose, around my ears. Okay, so this is your Leone faces. Okay, this is going to be a delayed complication of leprosy. Okay. One more important thing, guys, is going to be that you will have peripheral neuropathy. And what kind of peripheral neuropathy, guys? You're going to have glove and stocking type of neuropathy. Okay, and now since we know that there's a glove and stocking neuropathy, guys, there is going to be a deformity. And what is a deformity, guys? There is going to be a chronic ulcer. Okay, there is going to be a chronic ulcer of anesthetic foot. What do they mean by anesthetic foot, guys? That means that this foot is going to be numb. So if it is numb, guys, and there is an injury, will the patient know? No, the patient will not know. He's not going to do anything about it. Hence, what will happen, guys, over there? It will result to a trophic ulcer. Where else do I see such condition, guys? Very good. I will see this in diabetes mellitus as well. Okay. This feature is also seen in diabetes mellitus. Okay. Now, guys, what is the most common cranial nerve that is involved, okay, in Hansen's disease, guys? That is going to be a 7th cranial nerve. Okay, and your orbicularis oculi, there will be an orbicularis oculi paralysis, because of which, guys, there is going to be xerosis, which is basically dryness, okay, which will result to an ulcer, and that ulcer will eventually result to opacity. Okay. Next, what you need to know, guys, in the eye region, you will see mydriosis. What does the word mydriosis mean? We have already mentioned this earlier. Mydriosis means loss of your eyebrows, okay, loss of the lateral part of your eyebrows. Okay, why, guys? Because your Mycobacterium leprae also, it goes and it affects, okay, it also goes and it affects your hair follicles. Okay, that is why this patient will come with orbicularis oculi paralysis as well as lateral side mydriosis. Okay. You guys can see, guys, this is your trophic ulcer. This is your trophic ulcer. Why? Because, guys, sensation in here, there is no sensation. How is the patient going to know that, okay, I'm injured? Right? Common sense. Okay? Now, guys, these are some features that we will see in patients with Hansen's disease. Okay, what is this? This is a partial claw hand, or in some cases, guys, this can even lead to total claw hand. And if the total claw hand is involved, guys, what are the two nerves that are involved? Very good. It's going to be your ulnar and your median nerve. Okay. And what is this, guys? We can see the wrist has dropped. The wrist has dropped. This is your wrist drop. Okay. Wrist drop is because of which nerve, guys? It is because of your radial nerve involvement. Okay. Now, guys, there are these cardinal signs of Hansen's disease that you need to know. Okay, in cardinal signs of Hansen's disease, we are going to first talk about your skin. In skin, as already mentioned earlier, guys, what did I see? I saw this hyperpigmented reddish skin patch. Okay, hyperpigmented reddish skin patch, which will come with a loss of sensation. Okay, there will be loss of sensation as well. Okay, this patient is going to come with loss of sensation. He's not going to feel anything. The nerves, guys, nerves are going to be, there's going to be peripheral thickening of your nerves. Okay, guys, in your slit skin smear, what am I going to see? I'm going to see presence of my acid fast bacilli or acid fast bacteria. It's going to be present in my SSS, that is my split skin smear. Okay, these are your cardinal signs which you see in Hansen's. Okay. Now, guys, we're going to talk about lepra reaction. What is lepra reaction, guys? Very important, guys. Lepra reaction is an immune mediated. Is it acute or chronic? It is going to be an acute inflammation of which you will see during leprosy. So lepra reaction is a reaction that takes place during leprosy, okay, and it is going to be an acute inflammation, and it is immune mediated, okay. There are three types of lepra reaction, guys. That is type 1, type 2 lepra, which is also called as erythema nodosum leprosy, and your type 4, that is the Lucio phenomena. Lucio phenomena, guys, is basically it is seen in Lucio, which is a place in Mexico, okay. The word Lucio, it is basically a place in Mexico, that is why it's called as a Lucio phenomena, okay. Now guys, let us differentiate between type 1 and type 2 lepra reaction, okay. There are these various features that we're going to look in, so let us differentiate it now, okay. Your type 1 lepra reaction, guys, is going to be it is going to have everything, the spectrum of your diseases, which we spoke from TT till your LL, right. We already said that your tuberculosis type, it will give you good course, so we are not going to involve it over here, okay. It has nothing to do with your lepra reaction. Why? Because what was lepra reaction, guys? It was an immune mediated acute inflammation, right. So in type 1 reaction, guys, of your lepra reaction, what am I going to see? I'm going to see all kinds of borderline. What is the spectrum from all borderline? It is a borderline tuberculosis, borderline leprosy, okay. Whereas, guys, in your type 2 lepra reaction, it is going to be a lepromatous type. Okay, it is going to be a lepromatous type. Okay. Now, what type of hypersensitivity, guys? This is very important. In type 1 in type 1 lepra reaction, you are going to have type 4 hypersensitivity, whereas, guys, in type 2 lepra reaction, you're going to have type 3 hypersensitivity. Very important, guys. This is an immune complex, basically your antigen antibody complex, okay, reaction, which is a type 3 hypersensitivity, okay. Are there going to be any constitutional symptoms in type 1 lepra reaction? No. Whereas there will be constitutional symptoms which you will see in patients with type 2 lepra reaction. The skin lesions, guys, see, there are going to be existing skin lesions. They are going to be red and tender in nature. Whereas, guys, in type 2 lepra reaction, guys, there are going to be new skin lesions, okay. There are going to be new skin lesions, and there will be tender red nodules. There are going to be tender red nodules, and they are going to be new type. In type 1 lepra reaction, guys, one more important thing that you need to know is that there is going to be severe neuritis. Whereas in type 2 lepra reaction, guys, since it is already progressed, it is more poor, right, there might be any involvement of your nerves. Very important, guys, the drug of choice for this is going to be systemic steroids for both for type 1 and type 2 lepra reaction, okay. I hope you guys have understood this. Now, what is the principle, guys? The main principle of your lepra reaction, in all lepra reaction, guys, you are going to continue your multi-drug therapy, okay. You're going to continue your multi-drug therapy for your Hansen's disease, okay. Whereas, guys, what are the if you will ask what are the different other types of drugs that I can give in type 2 lepra reaction, guys, one is going to be a chloroquine, then is your clofazimine and your thalidomide, okay. One important pharma question, guys, in thalidomide is what is the side effect of thalidomide? It is teratogenic in nature, okay. It is teratogenic, and what does it cause, guys? It causes phacomelia. What does it cause? It causes phacomelia, okay. This is important. Causes phacomelia, okay. Now, guys, let us differentiate between another one question, an important question that we get to see, that is your paucibacillary and your multibacillary Hansen disease, okay. Paucibacillary, guys, how many skin lesions will it come with? The patient will come with 1 to 5 skin lesions, whereas in multibacillary, guys, there will be 6 or more than 6, okay, 6 or more than 6, okay. Whereas, guys, in paucibacillary, in paucibacillary, you will either have no nerves involved, or maybe you will have one nerve involved, okay. One nerve will be involved. Whereas, guys, in multibacillary, the name itself is telling me it is multi, so it is going to give me more than one nerve is going to be involved. Your SSS for acid fast bacteria is going to be negative in paucibacillary, whereas it is going to be positive in multibacillary, okay. Now, it will ask you the duration of the treatment, okay, for Hansen's disease, guys, of your paucibacillary and your multibacillary. The duration of paucibacillary, since we already know there's only 1 to 5 lesions, there might not be any skin nerve involvement, right, and your acid fast bacilli is going to be negative. The duration, guys, we will give the medication to these patients for 6 months in paucibacillary, whereas in multibacillary we will give it for 1 year, that is going to be 12 months, okay. Whereas, guys, what is the number of drugs? The number of drugs are going to be the same in both of them. That is I'm going to give 3 drugs. And which are those drugs, guys? I'll give rifampicin, dapsone, and clofazimine. Rifampicin, guys, I will be giving 600 micrograms 600 micrograms per month, okay, and that is once a month. Okay. Whereas dapsone, guys, I will start it from day 1 and I will take it till day 28. And what is the dose, guys? I'm going to give 100 milligrams per day. Okay. Whereas clofazimine, guys, on day 1 I'm going to give 300 milligram, that will be every month. Whereas from day 2 to day 28, guys, I'm going to give 50 milligrams of clofazimine. Okay, I hope you guys have understood. These are the 3 drugs. The drugs are going to be the same for POSI and multi. The duration is going to differentiate. The duration in POSI bacillary, since there's only a few skin lesions, almost no to only maybe 1 nerve is going to be involved, that is I'm going to give it for 6 months. Whereas in multibacillary, guys, I'm going to give it for 12 months. Okay, I hope you guys have understood this. Next, guys, let's talk about pigmentary disease. Okay, in pigmentary disease, guys, first let us talk about an epidermal melanin unit. EMU, that is your epidermal melanin unit. Guys, your one melanocyte, there is a ratio, that is your melanocyte to your keratinocyte ratio. One melanocyte to when one melanocyte is to 36 keratinocytes. Okay, one melanocyte, the ratio is going to be 1:36. Okay, for your melanocyte to your keratinocyte. Okay, what is the function? Why am I studying this, guys? Your epidermal melanin unit. The epidermal melanin unit, guys, it is important. Why? Because this will help to maintain my uniform skin color. It will help to maintain my uniform skin color and also your human skin color. In human skin color, guys, we know there is a dark type and a fair type. Now we will how are we going to differentiate it? It is going to be on the basis of a melanin. In dark skin individuals, guys, there is the melanin is going to be a eumelanin. What is a eumelanin, guys? It is going to be brown to black in color. Okay, whereas in fair individual, guys, the melanin is going to be a pheomelanin. This pheomelanin, guys, is going to be reddish to yellow in color. Okay, in fair individuals. Okay. Now, under pigmentary diseases, guys, we differentiate between hyperpigmented and hypopigmented. We're going to first start with our hyperpigmentary disease. Under hyperpigmentary disease, guys, melasma, very common. Okay, you will see this very commonly. You will see this in women, especially in India, since most of the women, they really don't care. They just go in the sun just like that. And we have a lot of daily wage workers, right, who don't really know the concept of sunscreen and at least using an umbrella covering themselves, right? So this is actually the sad truth, right? So melasma, guys, it is acquired. Okay, it is acquired. What is the etiology, guys? Sunlight, constantly or under the sun, thyroid dysfunction, pregnancy. Guys, very important PYQ. Melasma in pregnancy, it is called as colasma. What is melasma in pregnancy called as, guys? It is called as colasma. Okay, very important. You will not call it melasma when a pregnant lady comes with these hyperpigmented lesions over the malar areas. In fact, you will call it as colasma. Okay, only in pregnancy. Okay, well, how is this going to look, guys? They are going to be symmetric in nature. They're going to be as a brown macules. I hope you guys can see this. It is symmetric. It will be seen on this side of the face as well. It is brown in color and brown macules will be present. Where is it going to be present, guys? It's present on your malar area. It is present on your nose and also around your mandibular area. Okay. Now, what is going to be the treatment, guys? I'm going to give a hydroquinone. Why hydroquinone, guys? Because it inhibits tyrosine. Why do I want to inhibit tyrosine, guys? Because, guys, tyrosine is a precursor for melanin. Tyrosine is a precursor for melanin, right? And what is causing this is a hyperpigmentary disease, right? So if I will block my tyrosine, so there will be less so there will be almost like no production of melanin, so the hyperpigmentation will reduce here. Okay, so you need to know tyrosine is a precursor for melanin. That is why I'm giving hydroquinone. Okay, and guys, if there are melasma like pigmentation on the nose, okay, we will call that as a chick sign, which will be seen in your chikungunya fever. Okay. Next, guys, another hyperpigmentary is going to be freckles. Nowadays, a lot of people are interested in getting freckles. Okay, there's a trend going on for some reason. Okay, and freckles, guys, what you need to know in freckles is that your melanocyte number, guys, is going to be normal over here. It is a melanocyte activity that increases in freckles. Okay, these are your freckles. Okay, whereas, guys, on the other hand, you have this thing called as lentigines. Lentigines, guys, the melanocyte number is going to be increased, whereas your melanocyte activity will be normal. Why am I differentiating the two of this, guys? Because there is an important syndrome that you need to know, that is your Peutz-Jeghers syndrome. It is in the question, they will say it is going to be autosomal dominant mucosal lentigines. Okay, you can see this image. They will give you this image and they will tell you identify. Okay, they'll give this image and they'll tell you what is this. This, guys, this is your mucosal lentigens. It is seen in Peutz Jeghers. Okay, you will also have this GI polyps, which are also called as your hamartomatous polyps. Okay, it's called as your hamartomatous. Okay, hamartomatous polyp. Okay, these are your hamartomatous polyp. Okay, so what is that? What will you see, guys? This patient is going to come with mucosal lentigens. You can see this hyperpigmentation over your lips. Okay, and this patient is going to come with GI polyps called as hamartomatous polyps, and it is going to be autosomal dominant in nature. Okay. Next, guys, let us talk about our congenital melanocyte nevus. The word congenital itself is telling me the onset is going to be from birth. Now, what kind of a disease is this, guys? This is a benign proliferation of what? Your melanocytes. Okay, what is going to be the color, guys? I hope you guys can see this is very dark. It's hyperpigmented, right? Now, on the surface, guys, I'm going to see it's going to be hypertrichotic. What does the word hypertrichotic means, guys? It means it's going to be very, very hairy. Okay, it's going to be very hairy. Okay, and when I say that it's going to be a giant congenital melanocyte nevus is when the size of the hypertrichosis and hyperpigmentation is more than 20 centimeters. Okay, so I can see very clearly whether this is going to be a giant congenital melanocyte nevus. Okay, remember, hyperpigmentation along with hair. Okay, hypertrichotic, that is going to tell me that this is a and very important, the onset is going to be since birth. Okay, they'll see that this bacha is having this thing since birth. Okay, it's going to be very hairy on one side of the face. Okay, I hope you guys have understood this. Next, guys, okay, next we're going to talk about our nevus. Well, let us talk about our Becker's nevus. Okay, Becker's nevus, guys, the onset over here, it is acquired. When do I generally get it? During puberty. What is the lesion? I hope you guys can see this is unilateral in nature. Okay, you guys can see that this is a unilateral lesion. Okay, this is a unilateral lesion. Okay, and one important thing of this is that this is a unilateral hyperpigmented, as we can also see over here. This is hypertrichotic. Again, I can see a lot of hair over here, है ना? And where is the site, guys? The site is going to be, it's either going to be on the chest or on the upper shoulder surface. Okay, over here we can see that this is unilateral, is present on the upper shoulder surface. Whereas, guys, where was congenital melanocyte nevus present? Very good, it was present on the face. Okay. Now let us talk about different dermal melanocytes. We are going to talk about melanocytic proliferation in the dermis. Okay. Now we will also call that as a ceruloderma. We also mentioned ceruloderma in our previous part. What was the meaning of cerulo, guys? It means blue. Okay. It means blue to slate green color. Okay. Our very common thing that we will keep on seeing, the image is always there, is our Mongolian spots. Okay, which you see in newborns. Okay. Mongolian spot, guys, you will see it in infants. The lesion, as you can very clearly see over here, guys, this is a bluish lesion. It's a bluish lesion. Okay, and where is this site, guys? Again, let us look at the image. This site is present at the lower back. A bluish lesion in an infant, and this is normal. It's normal. You don't have to worry about it. There's nothing that you need to do about it as well. Okay, present in an infant. Okay. Next, guys, is our nevus aorta. Okay. The word aorta, guys, means oculo. Okay, means around the eye. Okay, it means around your oculo. Okay, guys, why am I emphasizing so much? Because you have nevus aorta and you have nevus ito. In the options, you will always give a nevus aorta and ito together. How am I going to remember? Nevus aorta is for my eyes, oculo aorta. Okay, that is how you're going to remember it. Around your oculo, that is your nevus aorta. Now let us look at the image. This is around your oculo, right? Around your oculo. Okay. Now again, we can see the color over here is bluish. It is unilateral in nature. What are the nerves involved here, guys? It is going to be your V1, V2 distribution of your trigeminal nerve. Okay, and site, as we can very clearly see, is your face. And guys, this also involves 2/3 of your sclera as well. Okay, this is your nevus aorta. Now, guys, your nevus ito again, guys, it is going to be unilateral in nature. Okay, and it is again going to be this bluish color discoloration. But where is the distribution going to be present, guys? The distribution is going to be present on your shoulder or your scapular region. So your shoulder is scapular region. And what is your nerve distribution? Very important. It is the posterior supraclavicular nerve or your lateral brachial cutaneous nerve. Okay. Now guys, with this we're done with our hyperpigmented. Okay, I hope you guys have understood this. Very very important. Your nevus aorta and ito. Remember, ose aorta, also oculo. Okay, this image comes and a lot of times people screw up here. That is what I'm telling you. Remember one. Don't try to mug up both. Remember one. Aorta मतलब eye का आ गया. ठीक है, eye का image दिया उन्होंने unilateral है. They're telling your trigeminal nerve is involved. Finish खलास. Just mark it as your nevus aorta. ठीक है. Now guys, we're going to talk about your hyperpigmented disease. Under hyperpigmented disease means you're going to be light color wale things. You're having this very, you know, like you get this image here and there, that is your piebaldism. What does your piebaldism guys mean? This means white forelock. Okay, what does your white forelock means guys? It means a tuft of hair. Okay, white forelock is basically a tuft of hair, white color bunch of hair. Okay, that is what your white forelock means. Okay, what is a defect here guys? A defect is going to be in your neural crust. Your inheritance guys over here, very important. It is going to be an autosomal dominant inheritance. Okay, the lesion, it is going to be a white bunch of hair. I hope you guys can see this white bunch of hair. Okay, next guys, albinism. Albinism guys is a defect in your tyrosinase. Okay, albinism is a defect in your tyrosinase. Okay, if it is only present around your eyes, that is going to be going to call as an ocular albinism. If your eyes, your skin and your hair is involved, as you can see in this individual over here, you're going to call as an oculocutaneous albinism. You're going to call as an oculocutaneous albinism. Okay, now guys, there is this triad that you need to know, where they will tell you, they're going to mention, okay, in your question, that there's this young child who comes with oculocutaneous albinism. Okay, has recurrent infection, history of recurrent infection, and has giant granules. Okay, that is your neutrophils guys. Very very important. This is your Shiedaki-Higashaki syndrome. Okay, this is your Shiedaki-Higashaki syndrome, and this will have a defect in your LIST gene. You will have a defect in your LIST gene. This is a PYQ. Okay guys, so what are the three things that you need to know? This child is going to come with, there will be a history of a child. Okay, there will be a history of a child who will come with oculocutaneous albinism. Very ekdam hyperpigmented. As this individual, you can see the hair is white, eyes are white, everything is white, right? So oculocutaneous albinism, recurrent infections, okay, giant granules. What is this? This is your Shiedaki-Higashaki syndrome. Okay, Shiedaki-Higashaki syndrome. And what is the defect here guys? The defect that you will see here is going to be in your LIST gene. It's going to be your LIST gene. Okay, I hope you guys have understood this, and let us see you in the next part. Thank you.